Sorry for the delay. So we're going to start immediately. Like I said in the previous class, we are going to be talking about heuristic principles because I noticed that while doing your assignments, most people did not take into consideration important UX principles. And heuristic principle is very important because these are bedrocks to which we design. Now, you know that when you design most times, the goal of designing, like I would always say, is so that your users can use your app very well. Like it should be usable. That's the whole aim of designing. Now we have some laws that guides us when we are designing. Now, heuristic principles are those principles that we use to judge a website to know if it's actually following industry standard or not. We don't just use heuristic principles to judge websites to look for their flaws. We also use heuristic principles to help us in designing usable products for our users. So let me quickly share my screen. I'm going to be showing you a tab, a Jumia screen. So Jumia website. So as we are learning about the heuristic principles, we'll also be looking at the flaws we can see and the ones they put into consideration. All right, so let's dive in quickly. Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see it's still showing, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, so let's dive in quickly. So we'll be talking about the 10 heuristic principles by Joseph Nelson. It's called the 10 usability principle. So we're talking about them one after the other. So the number one principle we'll be talking about is the visibility of system status. Now, what do we mean by visibility of system status? This particular law or rule is just telling us about communication and transparency. We need to communicate to our users at every point for them to know what is happening at every point in time. Now, let's say, for instance, if as a user, you're trying to use your bank app to pay for something, and after paying, you don't get a success or unsuccessful message, how would you feel? I do a transfer of, let's say, 10K to somebody, and I don't get any message. That's a bad user experience. So this law is telling us that we should always make sure we communicate our current
I don't see your
status.
screen.
My screen is showing Jumia page, right?
I can see it.
It's showing just Jumia page.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the website we'll be using. So how we are going to do it is, as I talk about one principle.
I can't see your screen over here.
Oh.
You just say Bombsy has started screen sharing.
It's showing from my own end there.
No.
Are you showing now?
Yeah, I can see it. Yes. We are good to go.
Okay. So it's showing now, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the Jumia screen. Once it's away from the Jumia screen, just let me know.
All right then.
Okay. So, like I said, the first one is visibility of system status. That we should always keep our users informed through feedback at every point in time. So I use bank as an example. If you do transfer, you don't get any message to know if it was successful or not. That system is not transparent. So this particular law, all you just need to you don't need to cram the law. The only thing you need to know is how to apply it. Now, how do you apply this particular law? First, I don't know if you've seen, yes, you have. Most of these chat box and websites where you see 10 over, you see 0/1000. That is telling you that you can only type 1000 words. And as time progresses, as you're typing, it's increasing in number. As you're typing 1, it's showing 1. If you type more than 10, it's showing 10. Now that particular thing is telling you at every point in time. It's keeping you informed. So you know that in your mind, you're not going to type more than 1,000 words. So if you have long thing to type, you will try as much as you can to summarize it so that it will enter that 1,000 words. So that's just what this particular principle is letting us know. We should always make sure that our users are informed about everything happening on our site. Be it you do transfer, they should tell you successful. Even if they are doing giveaway, they should inform you. So you already program your mind on what is going to occur. Now let's look at this Jumia website. Let's look at it carefully. Is there anything keeping the users informed here? Someone should quickly point it. We have 10 principles, so we are going to talk about it one after the other. If you can't see one, I've actually seen one, which is the 10% discount they are doing. Now, this is it. This one, Easter egg hunt, is telling you, it's keeping you informed on when it's starting and when it will end. So let's say I want to buy a product from Jumia and they are doing discount. And I know that the discounts will end after Ramadan. What will I do as a user? I will quickly want to order within that time. But imagine them not informing us as users that this is when it will end. Now imagine I'm putting it in my head that, oh, they have discount without showing us the date, without informing us when they are ending. I would just want to buy it at any point in time, like at any time. Then if I come at that time and I see that they've finished it, I'll be very angry with myself because I did not. But them telling me the date that is going to work will make me just program myself so that I would actually buy this thing within that time. So that's just what that first principle is talking about. So any question about the first principle before we move over to the second one? Okay, yes, the 10% discount. So let's move over to...
What about the small parts where it's showing like an animation, enjoy free delivery, this, and there was an action shop now? Is it not obeying that first law too?
No, that's not obeying the first law. That's like their advert. Now, what is obeying the first law? You should always keep your users informed about what is going on. This delivery, okay, yeah, free delivery, right? Yes, it's part of it. Free delivery within Lagos and Abuja. They've informed us. So if I'm in Kaduna, I don't expect to order something on Jumia and expect that they will deliver it to my house for free. It's already stated there that it is just for those in Lagos and Abuja, right? So it's also part of it. I thought you were talking about their normal buy now and the rest of them. So this one now is showing nationwide delivery. And this is also limited to just shoes, clothes, and the rest of them. So do you not get the whole concept of this particular law? I guess this is clear. So
Yes.
the next law we'll be talking about is match between system and the real world. Now, for this particular law, what it means is just that the words you will use, the icons you will use, the logos you will use, sorry, I said logo, the icons you will use, the phrases you will use should be familiar with your users. Now, let's take for instance, have you ever wondered why if you visit any e-commerce sites, you see that they always use a bag or that basket as your cart? Because if you look at the real world, when you enter your supermarket or anywhere, you would notice that they use that rolling cart to put in something. So now, as a user that have been visiting supermarket, I don't need you to tell me that once I see carts, it's like a bag where I need to put my thing. So where I need to put my goods, I just finished buying. So that's telling that anything you want to do, any icon you're using, any words you're using, you should be familiar with what we know in our life. The same reason why we use human shape as contacts. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to Jumia. So the same reason why we use this as account is because this is talking about the main user. We all know that question mark always means help. This is the cart I'm talking about that we use in a regular supermarket. So for search, this is also, it's not strange because this is a lens, magnifying lens. And what do we use magnifying lens to do? We use magnifying lens to search for something that we cannot see. So if you're a science student, or if you're not really a science student, both art and science at some point did biology or physics. So you should know that this is a magnifying lens. So this and the real world, there is no difference. So you can easily identify it as a user when you come to this page. So that's the second law, that you should match between real life and what you are trying to build. So let's move over to the third principle. Now, this third principle is called the user control and freedom. We know that users can make mistakes at any point in time. So we should always make sure that we include an emergency exit for them to undo unwanted action. So let's say, for instance, have you seen online where most people complain? You can just see a post that I just mistakenly transferred 10,000 naira to my account. I just mistakenly recharged 10,000 naira instead of 1,000 naira. Now, as UI UX designer, we should think of how we can solve that particular issue. If there's something like something we can undo it after doing it, it will be better. Like after you've done it, you can as well, like something like a help button that you can tell them, I was supposed to withdraw just 1,000 naira. Can you reverse 9,000 naira back to my account? Something like that can actually help. Or like a voice note. Let's say, for instance, I thought about it, but it's very funny. I'm trying to transfer just like Siri in iPhone. You should warn me. Hey, are you sure it's 10,000 naira you want to transfer? The truth is, most times we can forget things. Like I can be distracted while I'm trying to do a transfer, and if you don't allow me to be able to undo and redo my actions, then it's very bad. So what you can actually use cancel buttons to actually solve this particular issue most times. So that, or back button. So if I have gone to the next step and I need to go back, I just need to go back without it saving or anything. That's why in our system we have the popular Control Z and Control Y. I think every designer, if you're a designer and you've not used those two keys on your keyboard, then you've not started designing. Because we all know that at every point we would make mistake. Nobody is above mistake. So there should always be something that would show emergency exit on your designs. Are we together on this? Can I move over to the next one?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the fourth one is what we call consistency and standard. Now, when you're designing, your designs or the words you would use should not make users to start thinking, what is this? Now we have industry standard. We have the way that a digital product is supposed to look. So you should also maintain that when designing, because there's something we call cognitive load. That's the amount of thing that a user can get at once, the amount of information. Now you know that for every app, there is an already existing app. Let's say for e-commerce, I already know how e-commerce will work. I go there, the things are categorized. Let's say shoes, electronics, they are all categorized. I have the search icon where I can search for my goods. Now I know that this is the industry standard. Imagine coming to your own site and I'm seeing your search down. That's not the standard of designing. That's not the UI standard. I'm seeing your search button down instead of on top. or I come to your design today and I'm seeing your logo on the right part instead of the left. Users read from left to right. Industry standard for designing a website is you have your hero section. Your hero section consists of your nav bar and your selling point. Now that selling point is where you can sell your website in 2 minutes at fast game. So as I'm looking at the website from left to right, I already know what it's doing. And your call to action button. Before you can now go down to the secondary part of your website that consists of what we do, our services, blog, and the rest of them, and the footer. Those parts are called the secondary part. Now you need to sell your primary part very well before you get to the secondary part. And we know that there is a standard, which is logo is mostly at the left part of the screen. Same thing goes for your mobile app. Imagine using a mobile app and you're seeing the nav bar on top. Like you just enter the site and you're seeing home on top of the screen. You will just know that no, something is not right here. So that's what this particular law is telling us. Your users should not wonder if this thing is the same as this. They already know from other platforms how it's supposed to be. So they should not wonder at all. So are we clear on that? So we should always maintain both internal and external consistency. What do I mean by internal and external consistency? So if I'm using, let's say, black colors, or let's say red for my buttons, all my primary buttons should be red. If I'm using 15 for my text, okay, so Error, your hand is up.
Okay, good evening, Boma.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, concerning this consistency and standard, the icon, sometimes if I want to use icon, I use maybe for search button, I use maybe like,
Hello?
okay, sorry, maybe
Okay.
for the search button, I use like maybe 12, and for like cat, I use 12. Sometimes the cat will be bigger than the search button. So if I reduce it to like the search button to like 8 and the cat is still 12, it will look as if it's the same size. Does it mean that, okay, if it's 12, 12, I can still use it, or maybe I can just use the same to put it to look like it's the same size? I don't know if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Now, that's why it's mostly advisable that we'll get to that part, that when designing buttons, you use your auto layout. So your buttons will fit on every instance so that you don't get to change your text or anything. You just know that as you're typing and you want it to be smaller, there's a place you want it to be. It will be shrinking. It will come into that particular size you want it to be at that point. You get? So when we get to auto layout, you know how to solve that particular issue. But the thing is, that's why you have a style guide. On your style guide, you should do variety of buttons. And you know that, yes, the button you use for your hero section, your call to action button, might not be the same size of button you use for this. But then you need to give variety. You need to group them and know at every point which particular one you need to use. So if let me use, for example, I don't know if you've gotten it, but when we get to auto layout, we know how to do that very well so that it doesn't look different. It's still the same settings you're using, but it's just reducing to fit in the particular container you want it to fit in.
Okay.
Okay, so like I was saying that you need to maintain both internal and external consistency. What is internal consistency? what you put on your style guide. You should not type your H1 on page 1. Let me use a web, for instance. Your H1 in your home screen is not different from the H1 you're using in your About Us page. This whole class, this intermediate class, is just what we are doing in this whole class is to get our designs right. Now, it's not how fancy your design is, but how you can be able to implement most of these principles you're learning to make your designs usable. So if that is clear, then we'll move over to the next one, which is error prevention. Now, good error messages are very important when you're typing to prevent errors. For instance, if you want to delete something, as a designer, you should make provision for those confirmation messages before they commit to action, which is, are you sure you want to design this, delete this file? Yes or no? So that should never be missing in your design. Now, I mistakenly, just like you mistakenly deleting something very important in your phone without them warning you first. Now, error prevention, you can also do it by keeping, most phones does it now these days, a recycle bin. So that when I delete by mistake, I can still go back to get it. Even your laptop, you have recycle bin. Now, those are opportunity for you to be able to get your designs back, or I'm always using design, get your what you want back. So let's go back to Jumia. You can all see my Jumia screen, Abby. So let me say, for instance, I want to buy this wash. I want to buy this. So I click on it and I add it to my cart. Now, if you are very observant, you also notice that this Jumia, they are obeying the first principle very well, which is always keep your users informed. Now, for these flash sales, they are telling you when it's going to end, the exact time. At the same time, they are telling us the number of items that are remaining. So I can't order for more than 6. Now, when immediately I got to 6, the 6th one, they disabled it because I know that it's only 6 that is remaining. So imagine I saw this thing and I like it and I want to buy it for the whole student of KodeCamp. I can't because I know that it's only 6. Now let me show you error prevention. So in my cart, I just have one item. If I want to remove this, Jumia would always ask me, are you sure? Do you want to really remove this item? Now it's not left for me to either save it later or I totally delete it. So do we get the idea of this particular one? Error prevention.
Yes.
So let's go back to the next one, which is recognition rather than recall. Now, you know that the cognitive load of the user is limited. We use our short-term memory. Now, someone mentioned this in our previous class, that we should ensure that when you're designing, your users don't need to, okay, Abayomi, your hand is up.
Good evening, everyone. I actually want to ask, what's the difference, major difference between user control and freedom and error prevention?
User control and freedom.
And error prevention.
Okay, now for user control and freedom, you allow the user to be able to do what they want to do themselves. You get the point? They should be able to leave emergency exit at every point in time. Once they perform any mistake, they should. Now for user control, you use things like undo and redo to give these users opportunity to leave unwanted actions. Now, it's not like for user control, I might want to delete this thing, or I mistakenly delete this thing. Now you're giving me option of going back. But for the other one, you're wanting me to know if I want to delete it. Do you get now?
Yes. It's clear.
So where was I? Okay, recognition rather than recall. Now, you should help your users to not to crowd their brain. So when they are coming to your site, they should easily know where this item is so that they can retrieve it immediately. There are some sites that you visit that their login is not on the right part of the screen. Now, with that, you would want me to be recalling at every point where it is. Like my phone, I am always looking for where a particular app is. Maybe because I've not set it, or maybe because I've not been able to recognize a particular icon for that particular app. So this is trying to tell you that when you're designing, ensure that your users don't need to find what they want. So you should offer help at every point for them to be able to know, okay, this is where it is. Try to reduce the information that your users have to remember. Now, on this, let me go back to Jumia website and show you something. So we are using Jumia as our case study for today. Where is it? Okay. Now let's look at this instance. Because they want to help you reduce the load you should recognize. Now, normally they are supposed to list all this here, but they've used a drop down to reduce what you need to cram per time. So it's also important that you use drop down menu to be able to, okay, now let's say for instance, this is supermarket. You see that we have other things here, but they did not list all at once. They just helped us reduce it one after the other by keeping what we can easily recognize, which is electronics, phone and tablets. Then you can come and start looking at the different ones you need to do. So as a user, and I want to buy, let's say, gaming accessories, I'll just come to this place immediately. I don't need to cram. Then from here, I can start searching or looking for everything I need to do. But imagine listing the gaming, now start listing it one after the other. I can't cram everything at once. Are we together?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So we'll move to the next. Any question before we move to the next one? Wisdom, your hand is up. Quickly ask your question.
Yeah, but I want to ask, is search button also helping to solve this? The search button there.
Search button.
Yes.
It's also helping you to do it because it's helping to reduce what you need to cram. So even if I don't know where this thing is, I can easily search for it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So now the next thing we are going to talk about is flexibility and efficiency of use, which is the seventh principle. Now, we should ensure that when we are designing as users, we should keep shortcuts that will that will make your work speed up, that will speed up your interaction for both the experienced and inexperienced. Now, there's something they teach us in UI UX. They tell us that we should be able to design for a wide variety of people. So you're not designing for old people alone. You know that your site, you're designing for both old, you're designing for both young. You're designing for the educated, you're designing for those that are not educated. So you should make sure that this is very flexible in the way that people would pick whatever you want. I don't know if you've reasoned why. I don't know if you reasoned why our e-commerce app and most of these apps these days, ensure that they have 3 methods to sign in. It's either you use your password or use your PIN or you use your fingerprint. Now, there are some people that don't know how to cram password. Those kind of people, now what are you saying? That they should not log in their account again because they forget password. So if I am in that category of users and I want to log in my account, I've forgotten my password, I would need to be resetting my account at every point. Or let's say I copied it on my book. So I would need to be going to where I copied it to put to always log in. So you should make sure that this website or your mobile is flexible for people that want to use it. So I can decide to use anyone that works for me. Now, another way you can see it is on
Sorry,
this.
Buna, I can't see your screen, and I've logged out and logged in again.
My screen is. I'm just showing Jumia screen. Jumia. That's the only part I'm showing. I'm not using any slide.
Okay, I can see your screen now. Thank you.
Okay, so like I was saying, now you can also use personalization function. I don't know if you have seen it in phones, in Android phones. They can allow you to change your wallpaper. They can allow you to change anything you want to do. You can move your WhatsApp app from where it is on the front side of your app to the last part. They are allowing you to customize your work for what works for you, for what works best, including Face ID and the use of fingerprint sensor. So anyone that works best for you, you should do it. Your design should not limit your users to what they can do. Just like when they banned crypto in Nigeria, that most of this cryptocurrency app could not withdraw. At that point, the design was those apps were limited. It wasn't flexible again until for some people that looked for alternative on how to solve their users' problem, which is collecting their money from those apps. So you should always ensure that you have different methods you can pay. So if they had made provision for, let's say, the use of dollar accounts, all those kind of things, when that ban in Nigeria occurred, or the use of some platforms, it would have not been an issue. That was why Roku was able to change quickly to use other platforms to withdraw money. So I heard that recently Luno started doing it. So your apps should be flexible. Ensure that your users would want to do or use your app the way they like, from the setting, from the changing of the color of the app to the changing of different things.
What about the dark mode and the light mode? Is it part of
Yes, that's also flexibility. Yes, because for some people, I prefer to use dark mode because of my sight. I feel those light mode would be too bright for me. So those kind of things are things you can use to ensure that your website or your mobile app is flexible for users to use. So the next one we'll talk about is the one that almost everybody is doing today. Any UI UX designer you see is always making sure that one is very okay, which is aesthetic and minimalist design. Now, this one, you would want to design in a way that it's fine. You're focused on the visuals of your designs. But there's one thing I support: minimalism, minimalist design. Your design should not be crowded. I've noticed one reason why I like Jumia. Now let's go to Jumia. I noticed something that if you're scrolling on Jumia, you will not see about us. I don't know if it's this class I've mentioned it before. You will not see about us. Is it that they don't have about us? Yes, they do. But their whole goal is to just give us what is very important. My aim of coming to Jumia is just to buy and leave. Buy and leave. Buy and leave. They are not crowding my screen with unnecessary content. That's why it's very important to actually draw your information architecture before designing, so that you would know the important content and classify them. Now, it's not like you don't have about us on this page. Now, if I want to read about us, I will come down. They have it on their footer. If you want to read, go and read there. That's now left for you. Maybe you have interview with them and you want to know what Jumia is about. But if you don't have interview and you're coming to buy, there's no need of designing a page and putting about us. If you're not a company, let's say if you're not there's some companies that needs to keep like what they do. But then if you look at the anatomy of let me see if I can see that particular image. There's what we call anatomy of a web design. You will notice that it will tell you that your hero section should sell your page. So instead of using, some people do this thing that they put about us small, put image, do about us, and tell you to. Most times it's not important. Your about us should be on another tab. Sell what you want to sell to the user at that point. Your copy, your first copy, your hero copy should sell your website in minutes with very good hero. Let's say if you're into e-commerce. Okay, now just look at Durex copy, make lasting impression. Or which one should I use? There's a particular copy I like, but I can't really remember it. If you see that copy, you'll be forced to want to read more, to know about the company, want to learn about it. So try not to flood your screen with unnecessary content. Jumia side might not be very fine, but you see usability. When you talk about usability, their site is, I give it up to them, because you do the most important thing that took you to Jumia and you leave. So any question on this? If there's no question, yeah?
I have this. So my
Okay.
question is, this last principle, aesthetic and minimalism. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I don't think this Jumia's website is a minimalistic design. Why? Because a lot of things crowding it. But I think that maybe you like it, or other people may like it. But so is there like a line between having to put like a lot of content, like the way it is here, and then still
Yeah.
keeping minimalism?
Like I said, it's not, if you read minimalism very well, to tell you that avoid putting unnecessary content on your screen. Jumia might not be the finest UI we have, but you don't see unnecessary content on their screen. You only see their adverts, which these people are paying them for, and you can decide to close it. That is free. No, this is from Google, so this is not Jumia, and they are paying them for it. And you see what you want to buy. You see goods. By the time you're scrolling on Jumia at every point, tell me that, okay, this is because it's on PlayStation. But let's say I'm scrolling on Jumia and I'm seeing different goods. I will just be forced to just try to check on one. So what you have on Jumia page, they are not unnecessary. They are really necessary things. Maybe they might be necessary for you that wants just what's it called? Phones. That's why they gave you option to select phones. They have a place where they keep their phones. So I don't know if this is clear now.
Okay, well, I think I understand that. Okay, if they have, as far as content are important, they should just place it well. But if it's not important, they
Yes,
should remove it.
try to avoid unnecessary content.
I want to ask
Okay,
you
so
something. I don't know.
go on.
I want to ask you, what's the best font for website design?
What's the best what?
Font.
Font, depending on what you want to do. If it's your H1 for your Euro side, you can use between 48 to 70. That is when your designs is, you don't have a lot of different things to use to design the font, and it's just the copy that you want to stand out. You can use that.
Okay. As I'm talking about like for example, the Roboto, Montserrat, and like which one is the best?
Oh. There's no best font to use, depending on the font that is talking to what you need. Like for me, I use Inter for almost all my designs because that's the font I'm comfortable with. I like the style, I like everything about the font. So if you decide to use Montserrat, at some point Montserrat was the most used font. Everybody was using it. So depending on what works best for you, I can't come and tell you that you should start using Roboto or Poppins to start designing for all your designs. Yeah, that's to immediate typeface and not fonts. The font is the particular one you're using. If it's Roboto Bold, Roboto Medium, and the rest of them. But the family is called the typeface. So the last one is help users to recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Now, this is telling us that error messages should be in plain language. If possible, make it bold. Let people know that it's error message. For instance, delete is normally with red button. If it's an error message, make it to be bold. There are some things you need to avoid when
Hello, Boma.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes, we
So,
can hear you.
like I was saying, your error messages should be in plain language. Use traditional ways for errors. We know that for error, we use red. If you're not using red, make it bold. Let people understand that this is an error message. So, for instance, you log into a site and there's a popular name they call it that maybe it's not loading. You will now see something like, sorry, this is not loading. Error, go back. Sorry, what's it called? Is what?
Empty state and error pages.
Yes. So you should help your users to recognize that, yes, 404 pages. 404 pages. Okay, so I like the way this class is going. Someone has recommended fonts that you can use for both web and mobile. All right, so the person that asked that question, you can as well try to consider this font. For me, I am going to stick to my Inter.
Boma, I have a question, please.
Okay.
And it borders on flexibility and efficiency of use.
Okay.
I'm going to come from the angle of personalization and customization.
Okay.
And my case study is the very popular Apple product, iPhone.
Okay.
So while I was using Android, just like you said, customization, I could use a lot of fonts. It was fun. Whenever I'm bored with a certain fonts, I just go to my font, screen, and choose another font. Or if I want it to be tiny, if I want it to be big. But for iPhone, there's only one font. Sometimes I get tired of seeing that font, but there's nothing I can do about it. And everybody seems to just be okay with it like that.
Keeping quiet about it, right?
Yes, nobody's saying anything. The only thing you can reduce is the size. You can't change the font type.
Can you even reduce the size? I've not even noticed that you can reduce the size.
Yes, you can reduce the size.
So like I said before we started this class, that this particular heuristic is used to either notice flaws from a website, so you can take it up as a case study. Tell them, backing it with plenty points, tell them that they are not following this particular principle to allow you as a user customize your app, your phone the way you want it to be. There are some people in Android, I know that you can put off your, is it the developer's pattern or policy? You can put it off yourself and change everything you want to change, but you don't have that in iPhone. So what you need to do is take it up as your case study, and you might be lucky that they will take it into consideration.
I don't see that happening with iPhone. They are too close-ended.
You cannot be so sure.
All right, thank you, Boma.
Someone's hand is up. Anything you need to say about this? Okay, so we'll go over to the last one, which is help and documentation. So you should always allow your users to get answers on your website. Allow your users to get answers on your website. So if I come to your app for the first time, I don't need your website. I don't need to call customer care for me to be able to know how it is. Okay, so let me visit. There's one website I used to use. Jumia, they also have it, but you see Kuda Bank. So you see Kuda Bank now. Without getting to use their app, you can know how it works with their help and documentation. So let me look for it. This is it here, help and documentation. Once I come here, I can get help. Now, one of the ways to include help and documentation. Oh, sorry. Let me reshare it. So, like I was saying, get help. You need to help your users to answer their questions without them getting to contact your customer service. And this is one app I like very well. You can do that by including FAQs on your system. If you go to Jumia too, you will see their FAQs. So for instance, I come to the FAQs of Kuda. Without calling anybody, I would know everything about the app. I can get help. Is Kuda different from this? Yes, I get it. If I need to know if they are giving loans, I don't need to call any customer care. They will tell me that they give loan. If I want to know how to open an account, they are already helping me without me stressing myself to call customer care. Now, when I have finished using all this and I'm not satisfied, that's when they still gave me the option of, if you go down, you see something like not satisfied. You did not see the question you're asking. You can now visit their health care. So they already helped you to do this. They still have their blog that is answering most of these questions. So that is that for the principle. Any question? Any question? We have 5 minutes. No, we have less than 3 minutes to end this class. Is there any question? Quickly ask a question so that you don't.
Yeah, I want to ask on the task that we did. I don't know, somebody wrote for my design that you make adjustments to the program. So I wanted
The what?
to ask that. So that you make adjustments to the program.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask that, is it the one injuring me from entry stage 10 because I'm still in stage 9?
Okay, so I did not make that comment. I don't know. So I'll check later what you're saying and revert back to you off call. So Ayodeji, your question, please. Ayodeji, unmute and ask your question. We have 2 minutes more. Ayodeji, if you're speaking, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you now.
All right. I said it's not really a question. It's in line with the assignment. I submitted mine yesterday and I'm still waiting to be promoted, and so it's just
Okay, so you get feedback tonight.
all right. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So any other question before we call it a day?
All right, yeah. Boomer, I have a question.
Yes. Okay.
All right. On the issue of error messages, So we have a
Yeah.
kind of general error message. When we are designing, so we have designed a page our UI. I'm not even talking about the user experience now. We also design a U like is it necessary we design a UI based on the error preferences with our own kind of design style.
Yes, you should make provision for that. You should always design something for it. Even the 404 screens, it's the job of a UI UX designer to design it, because you're already putting it in your mind that at some point you would have bug in your code and your website will not load. So what information are you going to pass to your users so they don't assume that it's their network that is wrong with the page at that point? So even if it's network, I saw a particular app that if your network is wrong, you tell it, oops, your network is bad. Can you please try turning off your data and putting it on back? Now, those are messages that will make you know what is happening per time. I want you need to know all these, yes, all these heuristic principles, they are in one way or the other related to each other. You don't need to cram them, like I said from the beginning of this class. You just need to know how to apply them so that users can use your site very well. All right, thank you for that question.
All right, welcome.
Yeah. All right, so if there's no other question, this is where we would.
Hello, please, I have a question.
Okay, please, in 1 minute.
Yeah, the task. You said you would be getting feedback today.
Yes, yeah, we'll grade it today,
Are
tomorrow,
they
yeah.
okay? Are they going to be through comments on our designs or how?
Okay, so for the ones I've already graded, you would see a comment on it stating what is not okay about it. So just watch out for your Figma comments on your Figma board. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Sorry.
Okay, one last question, please. Just this last one.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
After I saw your comment on my work. So what will I do once I do the necessary correction?
It will still reflect back.
Okay, but I will message you to check it now, right?
Just tell me that, yes, just tell me that you've done the correction and I'll check it back.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, guys, sorry for starting class late today. It was beyond my control. See you guys on Monday while we continue discussion on Slack. Thank you very much for joining today's class.